Hello all, welcome to INBAC Academy. Hope you all are doing well. This month, we have been publishing content on how to achieve net zero buildings. In this video, you will be able to know how to achieve them in 3 steps. Are you all excited? So let's get started with me, Adrija, your learning buddy. Defining net zero. First step. Net zero carbon is defined as a reduction in the demand for energy and materials to a level that can be met solely by sources that do not emit greenhouse gases. The UK Green Building Council, UKGBC, has led the way in the UK property sector in defining what we mean by net zero carbon. Its document, Net Zero Carbon Buildings, a Framework Definition, was published in 2019. This defines the principle that achieving net zero is about reducing demand, both for energy and materials, with offsetting the last resort for residual emissions. The UKGBC defined a target trajectory for operational energy efficiency for commercial offices, which can be applied across the property sector. That to be net zero carbon by 2050, we need to reduce our buildings' operational energy use intensity by more than 60%. Whilst the details of the calculation may change over time, the scale of the challenge is clear. But this is only part of the story. There is as yet no clear understanding as to the level of reduction in embodied emissions that will be required to achieve net zero. A clear view of the extent of embodied carbon reduction that is necessary will be critical to complete the picture and allow us to take a comprehensive approach to decarbonization. Step 2. Incentivizing net zero. Buildings that demonstrate the potential to achieve net zero when combined with sufficiently low occupant energy demand should be accredited as net zero enabled. Net zero has become common parlance within the UK property sector, seemingly in the blink of an eye. We need to recognize that achieving net zero in practice will take time, and that real transformations in how we design, build, and use our properties need to begin immediately, but cannot be fulfilled overnight. In the property market, transformation is driven by incentives, and history has shown that rapid transformation is possible if clear incentives are in place. It is essential that we have a clear and rigorous framework in place for assessing net zero across the whole life cycle. The level of interest in the market suggests that with such a framework, we should quickly start to see buildings' net zero credentials have an impact on asset value. There are already signs that this is happening, but without a rigorous definition, we risk sliding into zero wash. It is important that we define clear markers for speculative buildings on a net zero trajectory, so that developers and portfolio owners have something to aim for in the short term. We need to define the concept of net zero enabled buildings that demonstrate the potential to achieve net zero when combined with occupants who maintain sufficiently low energy demand. Net zero enabled accreditation will allow us to properly recognize buildings that are capable of achieving net zero once occupant energy demand reduces to an appropriate level. At the same time, we need to be careful. Net zero enabled needs to be defined as a temporary staging post, not an end in itself. Any new accreditations need to encourage organizations to continue on the journey to achieve net zero in operation. Now comes the third step, taking a whole carbon life cycle approach. Embodied carbon emissions arising from new building construction or refurbishment can represent a significant proportion of a building's whole life carbon impact. Our goal has to be to reduce all carbon emissions to net zero. Until recently, little attention has been paid to the carbon impacts of constructing and refurbishing buildings. Yet, our buildings are constructed using materials, components, and products. All of these materials has to be extracted from the ground or, in the case of timber, grown, transported to a facility to be processed, transported again perhaps numerous times, to be fabricated into a product, transported to site, and craned into place. All of these processes result in the emission of greenhouse gases. Fuel for deliveries and to heat, shape, and treat, as well as releases from manufacturing processes. This impact is repeated on a smaller scale all the way through the life of a building, during its repair, maintenance, and any refurbishment programs. At the end of life, we expend energy and therefore emit carbon, once again in the demolition and disposal of assets. It is becoming clear that embodied carbon makes a significant contribution, between 30% and 70% of a typical building's total life cycle emissions. Our goal has to be for the whole life cycle emissions of our buildings to be net zero, not just operational emissions. In pursuing this, we need to view key decisions through the lens of whole life carbon impact. This approach will ensure that the trade-offs between embodied and operational carbon that are inherent in many of our key decisions become explicit within the decision-making process. A whole life cycle approach needs to guide our big decisions, and in many cases, the biggest of all is whether to demolish or refurbish. INBAC Association welcomes you to collaborate and work together towards achieving net zero built environment in India. How did you like our content? Please let us know in the comment section. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.